As always, I want you to keep something in mind for the conversation that we're about to have. What I'm going to be talking about applies to client work, professional work, the work that you want to look its absolute best, the stuff that you want to show off and shine. That doesn't always apply to my YouTube content, my vlogs that I do. It doesn't really apply to like home videos or stuff that you don't really care about. There's different types of work. So there's the professional and then there's the personal. And sometimes there's a little bit of overlap, but what I'm going to talk about is skin tone and coloring specifically. And this is something that I know I get wrong a lot of time on these vlogs. And, it's just, I experiment with the lighting here. But for client professional work, that's what we're talking about, okay? So personal, home movies, not that big of a deal. YouTube content, if you just do stuff for fun, not that big of a deal. Professional work, this is where it matters. So when you're coloring something, there's a lot of choices you can make. You can make the shadows darker, the highlights brighter. You can tweak the color temperature, the tint. There's sharpness and desaturation, saturation, all these things, right? All the tools that you have as a colorist. The most important color is skin tone or flesh tone. And I think this is something that a lot of people have been told, but maybe it doesn't resonate as strong as it should. Because when you're looking at a shot trying to color it, you're usually looking at the overall picture and trying to make sure everything looks good. But the one thing that you absolutely need to prioritize is the skin tones, because skin is the one thing that everyone is familiar with. You have no idea necessarily what the color of that back wall is. You have no idea necessarily what the color of this shirt is, but in your brain, there's something in there that you know what color my skin is. You don't know what color this beanie is. All of it could be a totally different color than it actually is in real life. And even in real life, it depends on the color temperature of the lighting. If I change the lighting in here, things would look a different color. But everyone knows what skin is supposed to look like. So when you're coloring, you have to make skin your priority. And that's not to say you always have to have skin perfectly balanced at the skin tone line, and you have to make sure it's exactly perfectly some ratio of values. But you have to prioritize it and make it the most important thing in your scene. If you're grading a sunset, or you're trying to do something that's like moonlit, or you're just doing some interior stuff in an office, in every one of those situations, people know what the skin tone looks like. They don't know what color the sunset is. They don't know what color the moonlight is. They have no idea what that office looks like, but they know what the skin tone looks like. So you have to get that right. If it's wrong, if it's too green, if it's too magenta, if it's too warm, if it's too cold, people's brains, they know it. And you might be going for a certain look or a certain aesthetic where you want it cooler, or you want it warmer, or you want it more green or more magenta. That's fine, as long as you establish that that is your skin tone for the project you're working on. Because here's what happens more frequently than not. When someone goes to grade a shot, they grade the shot. Maybe they get the wall like the color they want. They go to the next shot, they grade that shot. Maybe they get the color of that wall to match the same wall that was in the previous shot. But if you're not paying attention to the skin tones, that's what's going to matter the most for the viewer when they see one shot to the next shot, making sure that, your actor looks the same shot to shot to shot. And that is all about the skin tones. They could go from one room that's blue to one and walk into another room that's green, but as long as the skin tones are right, people will just assume that, oh, that was a blue room and that was a green room. I don't know if it's an actual green, the color green. So just really keep that in mind next time you're working on a project. It is super imperative that you get your skin tones right. And again, they don't have to be, what some other person's skin tones look like. You don't have to match, what someone says is skin tone, although that's usually a good place to start if you're new to coloring, looking up some of the actual values of skin tone. But picking what your skin tone looks like for your project, the look of your skin tone, and then making sure that that matches from shot to shot to shot. A lot of that's, exposure, color, like every single option in the coloring panel is going to mess with the color of your skin tones, and you need to make sure that they're staying in the right range for your project. Again, a lot of people, I think this is said, but maybe not emphasized strong enough, or people just forget about it for whatever reason. So the next time you're working on a project, just be really, really cautious of those skin tones, because it doesn't really matter what color the trees are. It doesn't matter what color the grass is. I mean, yes, it does. They're just lower on the priority list. The most important thing is the skin.